All right, good evening and welcome to the game. Today we had a game against a player, and it was a competition, and I was black against someone. How can we turn off these indicators? Let's turn off all these indicators. Yeah, yeah, let's keep it like this. All right, so we had a certain situation panning out, and this is just like some standard opening rubbish, really, from both sides. And here it is a little bit of a question mark whether I should allow these lines, which allow the whole trade of knight and queen, taking it to the late middle game already, quite early, making it more drawish than I would like. And now with this bishop attacking this pawn, I felt it's better to counterattack his pawn here with my bishop pinning the knight, threatening knight capture. Uh, and then holding on to it like this. I thought this was the right approach. Of course, knight check here seems like it's on the cards, but it's really not because of knight capture, and if bishop takes, then knight captures again. So this castling was a wrong idea from him strategically. I thought over here, better approach might be to put the bishop here, I think. Yeah, to kind of facilitate a trade of pieces fairly quickly, like these ones and these ones. Not worry too much about the doubling of pawns, although maybe it's not optimal. But to castle the king means to put your king in a corner, and I've got my king in the center, and my king is ready to play its role in the in the end game, which it might head towards fairly quickly. So anyway, rook here was the move I came up with at this point. And now it was tempting to capture the knight, and maybe I should have, I'm not sure. But if I capture it and pawn captures back, okay, we've got the doubled pawns, but he's got the bishop pair. And sure, I can negate the bishop pair maybe, but in the process of defending against it, he might even end up undoubling his pawn. So it's really, I don't know. It didn't feel right to capture this, to be honest. I felt it's better to just stifle the knight a bit by moving the pawn up, taking away these kind of check ideas from him. Keep pieces on the board. Of course, now I don't really have much of a choice but to allow for the trade of some pieces, and I think bishop capturing here might be a bit over-eager, a little bit anxious. Probably better would be to just play something like this, I would think. Holding on to the pawn and retaining some of the pressure and retaining your central bishop, which is nice. But to capture right away, okay. Now here I have to say I was thinking of taking it like this. Because why not? Open the file for the rook, and anyway, these pawns, even though they are looking double, I would just undouble them here, and it would already be pretty good. But white can play g4. And when white plays g4, this square becomes a huge hole, which is difficult to handle. And at some point, his knight might be able to make this trip. Of course, actually, should he try to do that, I could already capture this, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I thought taking it with the king is a bit more, uh, smooth. Now you can see he's quite eager to trade as many pieces as possible, and this is where he went wrong, I would say. So eager to draw the game, just exchange every piece and draw the game. And it's not quite so simple. And here I played the critical move here, I think, rook to d4, because after you capture it, which is what he did, you get into this kind of a situation where my king is holding on to the pawn, and the king can't really be dislodged. He can't do this because this piece is weak. So he's got to hold on to that pawn. And his king also can't really make much headway because the bishop and the pawn are guarding these two squares. So the king is also sort of blocked. It's his knight which has to do something. And we're going to get to that in a second. That's a very important point here. If you're in this situation and you're white, think, how are you going to solve this problem of the king being kind of blocked? It's got to revolve around the knight. Where would you move it? Here? Well, we don't know. There is a good square for it, and had my opponent played that move, the game could have ended up differently. Because anyway, here I make a move which I think was good, but actually turns out was not the most optimal move. He made a bad move, however. He didn't play the move he needed to make with his knight, which is actually, you guessed it, knight to c1. Knight to c1 is the killer move, because from here you can threaten to come here and not only fork the king and bishop, but really have a very central knight there, a really robust knight which matches the structure of the pawns at hand. And hence, this b5 idea is actually a bit bad because it allows him enough time to do exactly that. Instead, if I went here and then he went there, then I would have this move at my disposal, which would prevent his knight from getting to the critical d3 square. But my opponent's not as good, and here I made the same mistake again. He could have still done this thing, but he didn't see it as an idea. Instead, he got kind of annoyed with this bishop and wanted to just kick it away, send him back home, send him back to Russia. But he didn't. I mean, I'm playing by the principle. The principle is to block this king. And in fact, now, having played e3, he's kept two of his pawns on dark squares, which is exactly what my bishop wants. Of course, the knight is blocking that square right now, so I can't go there, but it's soon to happen. And so he notices that and immediately tries to untangle his pawns from the dark squares. But I say no. I fix his pawn on the dark square there. And this is where the game is strategically just lost, because there's nothing he can do about this in the long run. And as you see, a bit of a nothing move there. And my plan is very simple. Pawn up, pawn up, pawn up, and capture, capture. And then this knight has to move somewhere, which cannot be here or here. It's going to be here, probably. And then my bishop's going to come here and take the pawn. He already decided he needed to do something, so I just finished it off. And this is a critical little last move there, c4, making sure the king doesn't have any entry points either. Because if I just went for this right away, king could still actually make a little bit of a late bid to hold on to this pawn and stop it from proceeding. But yeah, that's the game. He resigned here. Hope you enjoyed. Well, he wasn't the strongest opponent, but he was a nice man. That's what matters. All right. Speak to you soon. Bye.